What's up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. And it's not really an episode of the Road to Redemption podcast, you see. I'm here to really just talk about a certain situation. I want to talk about the Chris D'Elia situation that's going on. Broke about 2 hours ago that a girl under the name of Simone came out on Twitter and accused Chris D'Elia of messaging her from chrisdelia@rocketmail.com on an email, and then just a little back and forth conversation. Hey, you're cute, these kind of things. There was no picture to it. The name was chrisdelia@rocketmail.com, which I guess you would have to verify whether or not Chris D'Elia owned that domain during that time. There was one screenshot that led to concern. There was I guess a Twitter message back and forth between him and some girl where at one point one of the people lied and said that she was 20 and then retracted later and said, I'm really 17, 18. He was like, no big deal. Here's the thing. Before everyone comes out and calls Chris D'Elia a pedophile and starts making all these Chris D'Elia memes with, what's that guy's name? The guy from exposing the pedophile show. I don't remember. Anyway, the point being, Chris D'Elia, he played two pedophiles in two major TV shows, one of which was the show You on Netflix, which is massive, where he literally played the character of a comedian who was texting and trying to spend time with underage girls. Now, in the show, he would slip them something and they would pass out, and he would take pictures of them nude or stuff like that. And then he did that again in another role, and I forget which movie that was or what show that was. But guys, for someone who was actually doing that, to go on screen and portray it is going to be one of two things. An absolute psychopath who is just going, oh my God, I actually get to live out the things that I really want to do. Or what I have to think, just from being a fan of Chris D'Elia, this is some internet thing. I don't know if it's a PR move. I don't know if it's because You got renewed for season 3, and now this is some PR move by the little powers that be at Netflix or whatever, that they send out these trolls to start talking about his character on You and draw all the attention to that show. So obviously when it comes out that this is unfounded. Now, that's what I want to do, right? And as I talked about with my knee-jerk reactions to like the Colin Kaepernick situation, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. If young girls, I have 2 daughters, right? I always want to believe that I am going to raise my daughters to be of such ethics that they would never say something that didn't actually happen, especially something like that where they know the ramifications of it. A lot of what I'm seeing is screenshots of DMs from young women with no display pictures, and I saw like one where Chris D'Elia's current display picture was put. But guys, Photoshop is a thing. People are very good at it. We gotta wait this one out. I'm not going to join in this memeing thing where people are now all of a sudden putting up like, oh, look, bro was trying to tell us the whole time and stuff like that. No, because that's disrespectful. If he really is out there trying to do these things, well, then we definitely don't need to be making jokes about it. Or on the other side of that, if he has not done these things and people are already starting to call. Now, I say people, right? When I say people, what I mean by that is there is stories on the internet where it says that groups or people are calling for shows like You to be canceled, or, you know, his involvement in the show to be taken out or whatever. And the point I made on Twitter a few minutes ago was I learned about it just by, I'm actually a part of a group on Facebook, the King and the Sting Facebook like fan page thing. And this morning, someone was like, "What's this whole Chris D'Elia thing gonna do to, or is everyone gonna stand with him, from the fighter and the kid to Theo and all them? Will they stand with him during all this?" So far, everyone's been silent. Obviously, when accusations like this come up, you kind of have to be, because they don't know, right? They're not with Chris D'Elia all the time. Now, they, just like Chris D'Elia's fans, are going to want to defend him at first and go, well, no, I know him and I know he wouldn't do something like this. And I think the comedy world has fresh enough learned from like Bill Cosby and things like that, where they're not gonna be, they're not going to take a harsh stance on it. We just had the George Floyd thing happen. It's already turmoil throughout the country. A comedian DMing people is really going to be the least of most people's concerns at this point. But in the sectors and in the realms that I operate in, and I know a lot of other, at least people like me, operate in, Chris D'Elia and the happenings of Podcastville with all things comedy and the fighter and the kid and congratulations pod and all those things, it matters, because those guys are motivation for us. Again, I've did a review of Chris D'Elia's stand-up special because I am a fan of his, not as a podcaster but as a stand-up comedian. I have always found there to be something displeasant about Chris, whatever it is. I've always thought it's just the arrogance. He's always exuded what I believe to be this not real arrogance that, it's kind of a character that he puts on. They got to say something, right? You got to say something. You can't just let all this silence ring out throughout the air. You got to say something. You've got to address it, because it's not just you taking heat. You got to understand that when you are a public figure, you have people that are going to want to go in the trenches for you. And right now, it's hard for anybody to go into the trenches about anything. But this is massive. I mean, this is a huge comedian who has now been accused of exposing himself to young women. He's been accused of sexting with young women. He's been accused of trying to get them to come to his hotel room. Some successfully have gotten there. Some are claiming, thank God I backed out because I had a boyfriend at the time. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that this smells of internet controversy conspiracy to me. This seems like somebody in California sitting in a Hollywood studio had an idea and goes, I'm not saying we should, but what's been the biggest thing that happened on Netflix surrounding our show since we came off air? Well, one of our guys, he kind of plays a small part, but he had a stand-up special. It's huge, actually. He's a big comedian. What did he do again? Oh, the pedophile. How are we going to blow that up? Well, we could say he really did that. What? We can't do that. That would destroy his career. Would it? If we just put a couple little troll accounts out there saying that he did this, and it's just a picture of a young girl with a name, kind of synonymous name, Simone, synonymous with, whatever. It could be anything. And then let's create a couple more accounts, a couple blonde girls. They look like the American Girl. Let's say that they were DM too. Social media, old people won't understand it. They'll say, fuck this guy. They'll be down to cancel him, especially in today when, the guilt is so high for everybody. Yeah. We can't have that going on. Nope. Cancel. But why? That's my thing when you go to the conspiracy side of things, is like, but why? What purpose does it serve? The only purpose it would serve is, obviously, if it came out to be unfounded and it was by plan that these pages would be exposed as false, but obviously not tied back to anybody involved with the show and they were exposed, oh, these are fake, this didn't really happen. Well, okay, now this show who's about to air for season 3, has all this hype around it because the pedophile in the show was accused of being a pedophile in real life. while comedy just had the massive tragedy of Bill Cosby being exposed for, not tragedy that he was exposed, but he committed so many tragedies to those women. Comedy has a dark underground. It does. That's very well known. Comedians are unique individuals, that's for sure. I love comedians for that reason, because they live in the dark sides of the world, but I just don't get that read. Chris D'Elia seems like he's always done well with women. I mean, again, he's best friends with Whitney Cummings, who's a huge women's advocate kind of person. She would not be around people like that. She definitely wouldn't have employed that. Again, assuming that she knew, but they're best friends. I mean, again, you think that this would have all, I don't know. Something seems so fishy to me. I want to wrap this up with just saying, guys, don't burn the boats yet. Let it all come out. But Chris, man, you got to say something. You, Whitney, or you got to be up front and you got to tell people, man, this is something I did, and you don't take everyone down with you, because that's the worst thing Chris could do at this moment. Is if he has done these things, if he lets people put their foot in their mouth, he's going to ruin everyone's career around him. Because imagine if Rogan comes out and says something like, no, I know Chris, I know him, he wouldn't do that. And then, by God, something comes out, or in the future, it did come out that it was true, and, nobody wants to put that on. So, Chris, as a fan of your comedy, as someone who's been motivated by what you've accomplished, man, I want to say I hope this is not true, but you got to come out for the fans, and you got to say something. Fuck your PR people, fuck your agent, fuck your manager. You got to come out and you got to say something, man. Even if these are internet trolls, I mean, that's a big part of how Chris D'Elia got famous, is going at people back and forth on Twitter. So for him to stay silent right now, that doesn't play well to his whole thing. That's who he is as a brand, is the back and forth guy on Twitter. So for him to be quiet about this, I'm sure he's being advised to by lawyers and managers and agents and stuff. But, man, you got to come out and say it. I didn't do this. This is insane. Look at this. Half of these screenshots don't have pictures. Just because you got the name Chris D'Elia at Rocket Mail, which if I was going to create a fake account and I went through Gmail, chrisdelia@gmail.com, that's going to be taken. chrisdelia@aol.com, that's going to be taken. Hotmail, Windows. You're going to have to go through some archives of what email providers can I get before someone's tried to use Chris D'Elia at rocketmail.com, just so you can create this fake conversation via screenshots. Again, that's just me. Why would Chris D'Elia, when he's doing shows at comedy clubs, right? A lot of these women claim that they were, in town for shows, or after his show, they say they're big fans of his comedy back when they were 16, but now they're in their 20s. It's like, well, Chris wasn't really big back then. He only got big 2-3 years ago. So even then, just as he's starting to blow up, all these teenagers are showing him attention. Now, I get that he was kind of like a Vine star at one point or whatever. He kind of fell in with the Logan and the Jake Pauls of the world. So, okay, maybe there's just too many questions for me to want to burn it all to the ground yet. So again, Chris, I think you need to come out. You need to say something. You need to call the people around you. I saw something on Instagram saying every comedian's phone is blowing the fuck up right now, and that's true. Chris needs to do something and say what happened, or say that this is complete bogus, because this is going to change a lot. This will change a lot. I mean, again, Chris is a interwebbing of Joe Rogan, Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, The Fighter and the Kid. I mean, all that. Theo Vaughn, everybody. In the world of podcasting, it's about to get real. So everyone, I'm here because I just open up critical lines of thinking, you know. I want y'all to think for yourselves. Look at the photos, look at the photos. See if you think they've been altered. See if you think they're legit. See if you've seen pieces of evidence that I haven't. Send them to me. I'll look at them. I'm genuinely interested in how this one's going to get played. I do. There's big issues in the world right now, but a massive comedian with huge exposure, possibly trying to target young women across the world, because it looks like somewhere is in Canada and somewhere's here in the United States. That's got to be addressed. Again, we can't fall silent and say, we got bigger fish to fry right now, and then just let things go by the wayside. This one's got to get figured out. So hopefully we do. And man, I really, really hope that this is a scam and a hoax, and it's just something because now Chris has caught enough fame that his name has gone around enough that this is kind of a part of that. Sometimes you get things like this where people go, well, what if we just started a story and said he really did the things he was accused of, he portrayed in the show. That's just the weird part to me. He portrayed it twice in a show. Now this new young generation that's stuck at home, binge watching these shows, they see the virality, they want fame, they want all this stuff, and boom, just how easy. Boom, 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 boom. Let's create this real quick. We got nothing else to do. Let's create these fake pictures. I'll post it on Twitter. You come back and say, all this stuff. We'll see. Guys, don't burn the boats yet. I'll be the first to burn them. If it comes out that it's true, I'll be the first to burn them. But, that'll change the comedy game, huh? Stay tuned.